After what many are calling an electric second day at the Democratic National Convention, all eyes are now on the third day of the Chicago event. More big names from the blue camp are expected to take the stage in a few hours from now. Former President Bill Clinton and former House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi will be addressing the convention at the United Center in Chicago. After 2 days of rousing speeches, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who Kamala Harris has picked as her running mate, will formally accept the vice presidential nomination and address the convention as well. According to reports, Walz will be introduced by former student Ben Ingham and U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. The 60-year-old military veteran got a resounding endorsement from former U.S. President Barack Obama on day 2 of the convention.
He knows who he is, and he knows what's important. You can tell those flannel shirts he wears don't come from some political consultant. They come from his closet, and they have been through some stuff.
For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehran is now joining us live from New York. Hi, Susan. We expect big names to speak at the convention today. We expect Nancy Pelosi to speak, Bill Clinton to speak, and also Tim Walz. What's also expected for the third day of the convention?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the keynote speaker is really going to be Kamala Harris's vice presidential candidate and nominee. Tim Walz is generally an individual that is, not a household name. He doesn't have much name recognition until a few weeks ago. So he's going to have to introduce himself to the American people and those people at the convention. And while he's been sort of touted as being this folksy kind of Midwestern individual, his policies don't really align with people in that region. He's more progressive than perhaps people in those states are used to. But it'll be interesting to see how he introduces himself. We're not expecting any major policy discussion or announcement from any of these individuals, but I think it'll be interesting to watch Nancy Pelosi, former House Speaker as well, take the stage, what she has to say. Obviously, Donald Trump is going to be taking the jabs, but also she was one of the people that were instrumental in sort of sidelining President Biden for Kamala Harris. And then, of course, there'll be other speakers. Eric, I just want to say there's one issue that everyone is talking about, and that's who's going to be the big name artist and performer finally at the DNC. Right. And there's currently an online battle on whether or not it'll be Taylor Swift or Beyonce. So that's making the most headlines right now.
And apart from that, have you managed to listen to what Americans are saying or analysts are saying about this convention being the third day of the convention? How is it? Is it enthusiastic, or is it beyond approach, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's very enthusiastic. You can't undermine and not talk about the divisions within the Democratic Party. You have those protesters outside. They don't get a lot of media coverage. And that reason is perhaps because the Democratic Convention just doesn't want to acknowledge what's happening on the outside of the United Center. But there's no denying that this would have been a completely different convention if Joe Biden would have been the nominee. I mean, half of the stadium may have even been empty. There's a lot of excitement right now around Kamala Harris. She's this breath of fresh air for some reason, despite the fact that she's part of the Biden administration for a lot of people. But I think ultimately what the Trump camp would have to focus on, because they're watching as well, is on policy. And that's what's really lacking at this convention.
All right. That is our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, live in New York. Susan, let's wait and see what happens on the third day of the convention, if at all Beyonce or the other artists will perform. Thank you, Susan. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.